This is Nattering with E with your host, Eric Friedlander. What up, world? It's your boy E coming at you from the Nattering with E studios. We're here in sunny Florida. I was going to say sunny Philadelphia, like the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. However, we are in Florida for a couple days here, just having a nice vacation, and I figured, why not do a podcast? So today I am joined by a very special guest, the woman who is my favorite person in the world, Mrs. E, my mummy. Hi, Mom. How's it going?
It's going well, Eric. How are you?
I'm great. So, before we came on air here, we were just talking about how you got into music through your parents. So, can you talk a little bit more about some of the singers and stuff from that your parents got you into?
Sure. My parents used to listen to all different genres of music: country and western, rockabilly, rock and roll. They loved Elvis. They loved Patsy Cline. They loved the blues. They listened to Fats Domino and a lot of other artists. They were quite prolific for their time.
So, growing up, you guys went on a lot of like road trips, like from Ontario to Nova Scotia and like across Canada, pretty much. So, were they in control of the radio, or was it the kids who were in control of the radio, or how do you feel?
They were in control of the radio for sure.
Yeah.
We used to drive to the East Coast right through. We wouldn't stop. My dad would drive 24 hours and we would listen to all these different radio stations that played all these different songs. It was amazing. Everybody would be singing in the car. It was great.
That's awesome. So, like, were there any songs that you guys didn't like, but like your parents liked? Like, for instance, I know growing up when we were in the car with me and my siblings, we would listen to like 104.5, and I just didn't like that station, but you loved it, and then the girls loved like Kiss 92 and all like the hip hop and stuff, and I was more into like the Edge. So was there any music like that for like you and your siblings growing up, or?
You know, I don't recall that. I think they were sort of in control of that thing, of the radio and the TV. We never really questioned that. We just listened to what they wanted to listen to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. In the 90s nostalgia pod that I was doing before, we were talking about how it was always a race from the like if you had the TV remote in the 90s, it was always a race to if you had to use the washroom to like run back in time before your sibling changed the channel or your parents changed the channel. Is that the same when you were growing up, or?
Well, one of the things that we hated was being closest to the TV because we didn't have remotes, so we had to change the channel. So whoever was closest had to sit there and change the channel till somebody found what they liked. So you could be sitting there for like 10 minutes until they found a show. So we hated that part. So. And my dad never got off the couch to change a channel because he had 5 children. So we all did that.
Yeah, for sure.
Our job.
For sure. That's great. That's great. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Oh, I know. I saw the Bay City Rollers. That's really dating myself. Mm-hmm. And I like the Monkees.
Nice. So that was.
I'm old.
That's in the 70s or 60s?
Yeah, in the 70s.
Wow. So I wasn't even a thought then.
You are not. Absolutely not.
And like you and Dad didn't meet till the 80s, so I mean,
yeah,
that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I wonder, because like, growing up, your music is pretty much influenced by your parents, as you said. So I'm very much into like metal and very loud music, but you and Dad are more into the softer stuff. So I wonder where like that loudness came from.
I don't know. I think your dad likes that kind of music. Like like Bruce Springsteen has a lot of, loud and yelling, not yelling, but really a loud artist, that kind of thing. So he liked the Stones, and he liked the Beatles, so I would say that sort of plays off of it a little bit for you, probably.
Yeah.
Like that music.
Yeah, that loud guitaring and like metal.
The solos of the music that Bruce and the Stones and Beatles, they all had that, a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's right, because like I'm really into like 70s metal, like Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, bands like that. A lot of blues, a lot of blues influence and things like that. So, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. So, when it comes to like podcasting, I know we've talked before about how like you listen sometimes, not all the time, but do you like it as a medium, or do you think it's like, do you prefer more radio show sort of stuff?
I'm starting to get into podcasting more, like listening to different podcasts, and I quite enjoy it, especially when I'm driving in the car, listening to different things that are interesting. So I would say I'm getting more into it.
Yeah, and we were talking about, because we both love to go on walks and things like that, so doing stuff like listening to audiobooks or music.
I'm not
I
a
think
big audiobook lover. I'm trying, but I'm not a big audiobook lover. I find you really have to like the person's voice to get into it. Whereas with podcasts, I think it's more about the content
Yeah.
that grabs me when I'm listening to it. So, I've listened to a few podcasts in the car, which I quite like, and I'd like to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Any ones you'd...
Well, I know your dad has listened to the 100 Years of Rock and Roll.
Right, that one, yeah.
And that's quite good. And I've listened to some podcasts on women's issues and things like that, health issues and that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
that have been sent to me that I found quite interesting and informative.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So, we love action movies. My question is, what got you into action movies originally? Was it like pre-having kids? Were you always in action? Like, were you always in action movies, or just like once your kids got to a certain age?
I think it was sort of something you and I developed. I think I don't think I was not into it, but I think I got more into it when you and I started watching them. And I think with each of my children, I've developed some special thing that we do together, and our thing has always been action movies, things like that.
Yeah, thrillers.
And we like to watch all the different shows, like series that come on TV and that kind of thing as well. So.
Yeah, which brings me to loving wrestling, which I absolutely adore wrestling. I've been hooked on it forever. I can't even remember my first memories, though. Like, my first memories of it are literally Jumbo Video and grabbing like those wrestling tapes. But I think it was even sooner, like with
You liked it on TV. If you saw wrestling, you always liked watching it, and your dad liked to watch it too. Yeah. I'm not much of a wrestling fan.
You went to a few though when you were younger, right?
I did, and that was I found it very frightening as a young person. Well, I went with my uncle, and that was back in the day when Sweet Daddy Siki was around, and they made it look like it was real.
Mm-hmm.
And I was terrified as a child of that. So I think that kind of turned me off.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because like I watch a lot of what's called deathmatch wrestling. It's like hardcore wrestling, so they hit each other with light tubes and like that, and it's mainly guys like, it's for the most part, like, women are getting into it, don't get me wrong, in case anyone's listening and is like, oh, he's only focusing on men, but there's a lot of like, I'm not schlubby, but like schlubs who go to these things and are like diehard wrestling fans, and then all of a sudden you see like a person who with their like 7-year-old watching this guy get like a light tube set on fire and smashed against his head, and I'm just like, that would terrify me.
Yeah.
And if it didn't terrify me, I'd want to be like put in a mental institution for being like a psychopath and liking that stuff, So.
And I mean, I like kickboxing. I like to kickbox, and I like to watch boxing,
Mm-hmm.
which is not violent.
Yeah, it's not that far
but,
off. Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoy that more.
Yeah, and like one of our favorite actors is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to do like Bloodsport and
Yeah.
kickboxing movies. So was that when you would watch those movies? Were you ever like, I want to practice kickboxing at least, not necessarily sparring, but kickboxing?
Yeah, I did like it, and I did it for a long time too. So I really liked it and enjoyed it. It's still one of my favorite workouts.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great workout. Well, that was great. That was a quick podcast that we did here. So we'll see you next time. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and you can catch Nattering with E probably like 2-3 times a month. And Mom, thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure, anytime.
All right.